Okay, so I this is basically going to be a video on the diminishing returns of perfectionism. I okay, there's this guy. I don't he's not in my social media because I am like a grown person who does not care. But this dude called Clavicular has shown up in my feed enough times that I'm like now annoyed. And the thing about him is apparently he thinks that he is like the most beautiful, optimized, handsome, blah, blah, blah. And that anybody who doesn't do this is like less worthy. I saw him giving an interview, and he basically was talking to the interviewer as if anybody who isn't looks maxing themselves, that they're lesser than, and that no one's going to ever love them. All right, let me explain. I'm going to explain something. As someone who has had chronically low self-esteem, I've had the opportunity, however, to interact with many different types of people. So I did not like me, how I looked. I did not take photos, didn't take a senior year photo. In fact, I met my ex-husband because he was trying to take my photo and I asked him not to take my photo. This has been a lifelong thing. So I would look at myself and I was so critical. All the like things about me and my face and my body and this and that I was sitting there and just absolutely destroying myself over. But other people were not looking at me that way. And I would have people that would legitimately thought that I was attractive. And also, it could be geographically different depending on where I went. So, depending on socioeconomic status, geography, I would get a lot different feedback from kind of like people in my area. Also, I graduated high school and suddenly all these people popped out of the woodwork like, "Oh my God, I had the biggest crush on you, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, where have you been for 4 years? I was sitting here thinking I'm like a troll, and apparently all of these people had like I had no idea. So so I've had this sort of like way of thinking about appearance, and I've paid attention to very attractive people over the years. And the interesting thing is, you would think, oh, the more attractive I get, the more it solves my problems. And I'm not saying there's not like a force multiplier there in terms of like dealing with society to an extent. The problem is the closer you get to physical perfection, the more nitpicky people get. And it's not just about looks. If you are an intelligent person and you're doing, I don't know, intelligent person things, you're making analyses, you're creating content, you're doing something, and it attracts people who maybe are also smart. Well, the more of these people you attract, the better your analysis, the better your ideas, the more nitpicky everybody is. So you would think, oh, if I just have the best ideas or the best face and body or the best whatever it is, production value maybe, then people are not going to complain, and I will have solved it. And actually no. So what ends up happening is all you've done is drawn the complainers and the nitpicky people. So I've mentioned this, I think in a live, I had somebody basically tell me like, oh, you should be doing blah, blah, blah for your video. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. What I am doing, it does not matter any production stuff other than maybe my microphone. Because what's most like to anybody who needs this information, they do not care. They are not, it is not relevant to them, anything else other than the words coming out of my mouth. But people who do not need my information, who are not in crisis or who are not stuck in like abuse dynamics, if you're just like, oh, I'm watching videos on the internet, right? Well, those are going to be your nitpicky people. I don't want them. Why would I? No, I'm not optimizing for them. I'm not doing that. So when we are going about in our lives and we've been conditioned by abusers to think that we are failing and everything we're doing is wrong. The way we look, the way we look is wrong. The way we exist is wrong. The way we think is wrong. I'm not saying there aren't areas for improvement, but they've trained you to think about yourself like a person who hates themselves, because the way that they are looking at you is not like a person who loves you. I had this dream. Where I was sort of shown myself from the outside. And in the dream, I had like this like 1940s kind of hazy from the movies, like that hazy kind of glow that the female leads would get in the movies. And I woke up and I was like, oh, okay, right? And I was like, is this how someone who actually likes me would look at me? And I thought about it and I went, well, I don't look at people I love like that. I don't look at my son like that. I don't look at like my mom like that. And in fact, like for families who don't have abusive moms, your mom just is your mom and you love your mom, and however she ends up looking over the years, you're just like, oh, that's my mom, right? It's not. I also, I read a study many years ago that said when two people, like get married and they love each other, and they're together over many years, like decades, that when they look at each other, they still see the young person that they met. Like their image of who that person is sort of fixed at that time that they met. And so like, yes, they see this other person that's getting older, but you kind of also see within the person, you see that person that you met and fell in love with. And I've noticed that when I've looked at people that I love and have been with over time. You look at them and you're like, oh man, I remember when you look like this. You still see it in them. Anyway, so when we are operating in the world and we've been conditioned by people who hate us to hate ourselves, and then we think, oh, okay, we'll fix it, and then that'll fix the problem. And it doesn't fix the problem. All it does is draw nitpicky assholes. And he's probably trying to solve some like deep internal like trauma wound, whatever, but he's putting it out on other people. And then I have a 13-year-old son that I'm trying to like keep away from that crap. And in fact, I sat down and had a conversation with him. And I said, listen, I've done the calculations, because he's like very tall right now and he's trying to get taller. And I said, should we be leaning out, like paying attention to our nutrition? Yes. This is the weight you are not allowed to go below. I've done the calculations. You should not be below this body fat percentage. Whatever this looks like on you is how you're supposed to look. Like if you are eating your healthy foods and you're getting out and being active and stuff like that, then however your body looks is however your body is supposed to look. Do not pay attention to these fucking looks maxers. Like, no. And I'll tell you something too. I have been in, around, adjacent, blah, 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 the queer community my whole life. And so I've been around a lot of gay men. There's a subsection of gay men that are very, very oriented on like muscles, physiques, blah, 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 etc. And it's never enough. It's never enough physique. It's never enough fitness. It's never enough looking, there's always something more to be optimized. Like that's how you're stuck in the bad place, because there's always something else to optimize. And at some point it has to be enough. And so when you're dealing with somebody and it's never enough, there's always yet another thing. That's not your person. That's not a person for you. I actually had an argument with this, with my abusive ex, because my attitude was like, I want to hang out with people who think I'm great. Why would I want to spend my time with people who don't think I'm great? That seems like a waste of time and energy and effort for everybody. And he was like, oh, that's so narcissistic. And I was like, why? Why is that narcissistic? It didn't dawn on me until many years later. He doesn't like anybody. He does not hang out with people he likes. If he only hung out with people that he likes, he would have nobody to hang out with, because he's a highly critical person. And in fact, he told me something. And at the time I thought, wow, that's really, okay, what an interesting idea. And now looking back on it, I'm like, he told me 100%. And I was not paying attention. He said, I'm not judgmental. Or he said, I'm not judge vocal. I'm judgmental. And I thought, oh, okay. Okay, yeah. I didn't realize he was telling me I'm a critical, complaining, nitpicky kind of person. I've just learned to keep it to myself. Let me tell you something. There are people out there that are not like this. So when I was doing the subreddit, when I started the subreddit, the worse I was at doing abuse content, the more people I attracted who were just so enthusiastic because they were in these abuse situations and they just wanted someone to talk to about it. The better I got, the more professional my content, the more concepts I figured out, the more I got the people who had been in abuse relationships were no longer in abuse dynamics and were now basically just consuming this content, making themselves experts, and then running around trying to like teach everybody. And no offense, that can end up being a nightmare to deal with because they're not a oh and person. This and this. It's, well, this is wrong and I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Like, oh my God, y'all, no, no. We don't have to live like this. And we don't have to live like this toward ourselves. Part of why I had such low self-esteem when I was a kid was because I would get on the scale and I would be like, oh my God, I'm so fat. And then one day I finally went, why am I trying so hard? I cannot care about this anymore. Literally, I guess I'm just like a troll and there's nothing I can do about it. When I think back to who I was back then, I had done gymnastics. I had done taekwondo. I had done ballet. I was in ballet or dance classes, like, your jazz, tap, blah, 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 like all of that. I had muscle. I didn't know the level of muscle I had until I had like a DEXA scan, I think, at the gym one time. And the guy was like, oh, and I should have realized something was up because whenever I would tell people my weight and I would just be like, oh, I'm so fat, they'd always look at me and like, wow, you don't look like that. And I was like, well, I mean, I live with me. I know what I look like. The reason was fucking muscle. It was muscle. And I didn't clue in on this. Of course I had an abusive dad who was telling me bullshit because I wasn't like a tiny person, but of course not. I was an athlete, but I wasn't thinking about it as me being an athlete because I was doing like other things that weren't sports. So I was like, all right, let me see. I want to calculate. Because I was doing it for my son because I wanted him to understand that his body, the way that it looks, if he's doing everything right, is how it's supposed to look. And it does not matter. Don't compare it to anybody else. That is not your business. Your business is, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Yes. Then that's all we care about. So I calculate. So I did the same calculation on me back then that I did on him. And based off my muscle mass, height, blah, 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 all of that stuff, my optimal weight at 15% body fat is 147 pounds. Like if I kept all of my muscle. And I was like, well, no wonder I was 140 pounds in middle school. And I thought I was so fat. And I would look at these other girls and I'm like, how are they so like slender and willowy and beautiful? And I'm just sitting here like a troll, blah, blah, blah. And I was just stacked. I had muscles. I had muscles for days. I still have, like, underneath it all, I've got muscles. And I've reached a point in my life where I'm tired of tearing myself down. I'm tired of watching people tear themselves down. I'm tired of the people who come in who are tearing people down. And they're just like, oh, it's because I'm accurate. Whatever. We don't, like, no. Do the thing that you want to do. Ignore the people, for the most part, who are like really freaking nitpicky about it. I'm a firm believer in that inner orientation toward moving on your journey for who you are, to be who you are. You can think of it as intuition. You could think of it as like I know some people think about spirit guides. You think of angels. I'm real big on the Holy Spirit, obviously. But whatever it is, whatever construct you're using to think about the world and exist in it, there's something within you that wants the best for you. Like that's a voice you should listen to. And it might be like, hey girl, get a mic, Okay, we'll get the mic. Hey, let's try this thing. Maybe this will be fun. And then you do it. And because you're not having it dictated at you like you're failing, but it's more like, oh, we're exploring, we're experimenting, we're trying. We're not trying to appease, where is this picture? We're not trying to appease the mob. I think about all these beautiful, incredibly beautiful women. They are the ones that get taken up by these billionaires or these dudes in Dubai who just want to destroy them. Or they date a guy that they think, oh, well, this person will, respect me and cherish me because they have this value for beauty and I'm beautiful. So this seems like, that they should think I have worth. And they don't. They don't. They're going to act like you're superficial because you look good, even though that's what they want. Like, people have low self-awareness and they turn their inner toxicity out on the world. And we just have to be at a point where we're not doing that. Unsubscribe, delete, not my business. We cannot care. If someone hates you, their opinion is not your business. And like, let's just not. Anyway, I hope this makes sense. I'm not going to redo this video. Anyway, I'll talk to you next time.